This is Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame's Takeover Tuesday. This is what we do every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. We talk to people, we talk to boxing dignitaries, and we talk to boxing fans. Or if you love boxing, if you have a knowledge of the sport, we'll talk to you. But we talk to managers. This is where you come for boxing talk. Tonight, we have a very special guest who is one of the biggest fans out there, but she has an array of fans herself. Tonight's guest is Roxanne Shante. I mean, when we talk about a legend, that's who, it's with a capital L. Roxanne Shante, she has her own Sirius Radio, Sirius XM radio show that she does every week, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff with Roxanne Shante tonight, but definitely thank you for joining me tonight. Before we even start, I want to give a few shout-out to a few people who really help out the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, and also it's a part of the Boxing Hall of Fame family. Miss Roxanne Passerella, from the Fantasy Resorts. She really helps us out a lot, and we thank you. The Spar Bar, Claridge, where the Hall of Fame is held. We can't thank you enough. The City of Atlantic City, we really thank you, because you give us a venue, and you've given boxing a venue that, basically, again, thank you. Jay Torres, who does so much for, he's a part of Fight Apparel. That's his company, and Jay, he does so much for the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, and we thank you, Jay. Samad Haq, that's my man. Samad, you know you are a part of the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. Patrick Killian, I call him the Picasso of boxing, because if you ever come to one of our events and you see artwork around, and you know that he's the one that did it, Patrick, your work speaks for itself. But again, tonight we have Roxanne Shante, who's going to be coming in a little bit, but and when she comes in, trust me, she has a lot to say, because Roxanne Shante has been doing this for quite some time, since 14 years old. If you haven't seen her movie, Roxanne, definitely do yourself a favor and do that, because Roxanne is a definite keeper. You should really put it in your movie collection. Let me get things set up here. And again, I'm sort of in like a Roger Mayweather mode right now. And if you know who Roger Mayweather is, you know Roger Mayweather was a former world champion. He was Floyd Mayweather's uncle / longtime trainer. But one thing about Roger Mayweather is Roger Mayweather would tell you, anybody who thought they knew boxing and you didn't know boxing, he'd let you know about yourself. As a matter of fact, his favorite saying was, most people don't know blank about boxing, and you know what that blank meant. But Roger Mayweather is one of those people who he would speak his mind. So if you know about hip-hop music, if you think you know about hip-hop music, and you don't know my next guest, then I guess, trust me, I'm in my Roger Mayweather mode. You don't know blank about hip-hop. Again, we're sitting here waiting for the Queen. She'll be here in a little bit, and Samad, love you, man. Love you, cat. Also want to make mention, because of the coronavirus, you know that the Hall of Fame has been delayed this year. A decision hasn't been made as to when we're going to get back on track, but at the same time, it's for the best that we had to delay it this year. But trust me, when we do come back, it's going to be off the chain. That's what we do every year. If you've been to any of the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame events, you know what I'm talking about. It's been better and better each year. This year, we had Roy Jones Jr., Pernell Whitaker, the late great Pernell Whitaker, two of the people that are going to be inducted, along with a whole host more. But I just want you to basically hold on. Okay. I need you to ACBHOF.com for more information on when we're going to get back on track, okay? Hey, Angela, what's going on? What's going on, Dawn? Roxanne Shante, we're just waiting on her. She should be joining us any minute now. There she is. There she is. What's going on, Queen? How are you?
I am great. If you noticed, what I was doing was I was actually telling you, like I was giving you directions or instructions, like, look, scroll up, accept me, then scroll
now there you go. Now there you go. I don't even know where we can start. I mean, you have such a story that, I mean, all the way back from 14 till now, you have such a story. I mean, you're Roxanne the rapper, you're Roxanne the movie producer, Roxanne the radio host, Roxanne the businesswoman, Roxanne the mother, the Roxanne the wife, Roxanne. But right now we're going to talk about Roxanne, and we're going to talk about Roxanne and your man, who you guys are huge boxing fans. I mean, so huge boxing fans, so much that's why you are a part of the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. It's yourself. What was the thing that got you into the sport, or into the sweet science?
Well, you know what? I want to say that growing up in the largest housing project in the world, which is Queensbridge Public Housing, you're automatically drawn into boxing. I mean, because either you know how to box or you don't. Literally, either you're a natural fighter or you're not. And I can tell, like, from when I was younger, I was able to say, like, okay, you know what? This is something that I'm interested in. And not just the quote unquote, what they like to say sometimes, like the brutality of the sport. No, that's not it. It's the science. It's the sweet science of being able to go in, set your point, do what you're supposed to do, and everyone still leave, healthy and alive. It was a way of going in that ring, proving that point, and making people understand, that you weren't one to mess with. Plus, what people don't tend to look at is the fact of the dedication. In order to be a boxer, you don't just wake up in the morning and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to be a boxer and I'm going to stay on top. No, it takes a lot of dedication. My husband's a retired boxer, and one of the things that he still does today is he still lives as a boxer, which means he still gets up in the morning and runs. He still has to do a workout. He still feels that, there's a certain eating regimen that goes along with it. People think that,
So your husband was a fighter?
Yeah, my husband actually, he did fight, not on a high level like like the ones that we go to see, but he's definitely there. And in an early injury, he had to stop early, but that did not take him away from the love of the sport, nor me.
I know that we see you at the fights here in Atlantic City, but I know that you're such a big fan that you are at the fights everywhere. And not only are you at the fights, but you're definitely like basically you're friends with a lot of fighters. So who are some of the fighters that you are cool with?
The younger generation, which is our Sean Porters, our Errol Spence, Telefimo, they call me auntie. Like they see me as their aunt. Like when I actually went to the fight with Sean Porter and Errol Spence, I was so impressed at how much training and how much of a difference Sean Porter had in his style that night. Because most of the time people are always saying that he comes in as a football player. But if you notice that night, he was more so prepared. Whole different technique that he was using, and I was so proud of him. And then it was hard for me to sit there because I also love Errol, so it's like I'm sitting there as a real auntie just watching her nephews fight. So I just tell him, like, yo, listen, go in there and do what you're supposed to do, and I'm here for whoever, whether they win or lose. I don't choose or pick sides. I love the science of boxing.
Well, I saw your movie. I mean, I saw it a while ago, but I looked at it again the other day, and it seemed like you were nice with the hands back in the days too. At a young age, it seemed like like you said, you raised up in the Queensbridge projects, and you had to know how to fight. And it seemed like you were a feisty woman that knew, feisty little girl at the time.
Yes.
But at the same time, you still, little girls can fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If I got a nice little jab to back them off, and I got a nice little hook when it comes time for it. Yeah, I can make it do what it do.
Now, I know, like I said, I'm big up in you saying that you are a big boxing fan, but like, do you keep up with the news like every day? I mean, for the most part, let's case in point, like Mike Tyson's supposed to be making a comeback. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I was looking at some of his training, and then I just recently spoke to Mike. Me and Mike talked about a week ago. Then I had him on my show the week before that, but we get a chance to converse a lot. And I told him I like the idea of it. One, he's physically ready for it. He's mentally in a better position. He's spiritually more contained. He's in a happy place. And I think what people don't really understand about it is that a happy Mike Tyson is a phenomenal boxer. When he's at that point where everything now seems to be very smooth, yeah, he could go in there and I can see him doing it again. I do. I mean, look, if we were going to go back to like Archie Moore, so if we're going to go back to, different boxers, George Foreman, Bernard Hopkins, there's no age on it. And the way people are now, as far as being physically fit, I don't think age is a number.
And so you give him a chance. See, because it's up in the air right now as to whether, it's exhibition or whether he's definitely serious about coming back and fighting. From a serious standpoint, you give him a chance on beating or being competitive against the modern day people like Anthony Joshua, a Tyson Fury, or even a Deontay Wilder?
Absolutely.
That's a decent answer, and time will tell.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because I'm going to tell you, I told everyone when everybody was saying like, oh no, it's no way that he is going to beat Anthony, he was going to beat Anthony Joshua. I said, I don't know, because sometimes the sport itself really goes by heart. And there's a certain look in a boxer's eyes that lets you know if this is going to be the fight for him or not. And that night when he was in New York, when he first lost the belt, I felt like, okay, you know what? This may not be his night. And it turned out not to be his night. Then when they had the rematch, it was one of those things where I think it was it was going to be really, really close. It wasn't going to be this what you thought it was going to be. It wasn't going to be like he was going to get in there and he was just going to annihilate him. I didn't think that was going to be possible. But I seen that he wasn't in shape. He really wasn't ready for him. So it was just a few little things that tell you that. And even with Deontay Wilder, that night before he fought Tyson Fury, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing both of them on my show, one of the things was that I felt like, okay, hold on. This is one of those situations where, Deontay didn't look like he really wanted to go in there and fight that night. He was leaning on his fiance. He didn't seem to be up to his normal spirits. He didn't, I didn't get a lot of bomb squads out of him. So, it's just certain things. Maybe it's me. Maybe that's just how I look at things. That's just me.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Joshua and Ruiz fight because I actually had I was one of the officials for that fight, and at the Garden, it was a hell of a. I mean, and the match, it wasn't so surprised. The reason why I wasn't surprised because you can rest on your laurels. You can. He was going on press tours. I mean, not press tours, but he was just basically he wasn't training and taking the rematch as serious as I thought that he should have. I mean, and that was obvious by the weight that he came in. But I know, like I said, that initial night. Oh my God! I mean, it was. Were you there that night?
Then nope. And you know what? Let me tell you, I had tickets. Great seats. You know me. I believe like the only time I like to sit on the floor or can be told that I can sit on the floor is at a boxing match. And baby, I had perfect seats. I was like, nah, this is just going to be a walk through the park. Babe, we're going to sit this one out. We're going to go to the next one. And look, set out history.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I know, like I said, I was one of the officials for the fight, and I was happy to be a part of history because going into the fight, I guess if you believe press clippings and things like that, and which is one of the no in boxing because on that particular night, one punch can change the whole fight, and that's exactly what happened on that night. But again, I was a part of that night, and what a night it was, and you didn't miss a night that night. Let's get into you. I know that you've, since the movie has come out, I know that you've done countless interviews, and I'm probably not going to ask any question that hasn't been asked already. But how did the movie come about?
Well, actually, I was hosting an event in New York City when Mimi Valdez and Nina Bon Jovi had approached me, and they're two female producers for movies, and they approached me and they were like, listen, we've been looking for you. We would love to do a movie on your life. And I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. All right. Gave them my number. And the next day we actually went out and had breakfast. And within 2 weeks, they were already talking like, look, we're going to make this happen. So, I got excited, got on board with it. Like, yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to make this happen. And before you know it, people were just calling in and wanting to be part of the project. We did not have to go looking for anyone. Everyone just came. Even the young lady who plays me, her name is Shante Adams. She was literally born for the part. Like, I actually had to thank her parents. Like, look, I thank you for naming her Shante. She turned out to be a phenomenal actress. She won a Sundance Film Award for being a breakout actress of the year on the movie. The movie turned out to be one of the most rewatched movies on Netflix. #1 movie of 2018. A lot of people did not think that it was going to have the success it was going to have, but there was really no choice for it to have nothing but be successful, mainly because everyone wanted to do it from the heart. Everyone. From the man.
Well, how much of the story? Well, obviously they must have known something about Roxanne Shante, but how much of your story did they know? Because, meaning the producers, because from a fan standpoint,
I served as executive producer, and not only that, I was there with the writer the entire time. Like, I sat down, told my entire story to him. What we did was we actually watered down the story because we didn't know if the world was really ready for the full Roxanne Shante impact, because that movie is only 3 years of my life, technically. So if you look at it, it only covers 3 years of my life. And,
but it was three hellified years though.
Yeah, and I have 47 others. So it was one of those situations where you wanted to make sure that some little girl somewhere was going to be able to look at that screen and identify with, growing up without a father, looking for a father figure, falling into the wrong trap. My main idea for the movie was to make sure that it was the perfect daddy-daughter movie. And that's what it became. It became like a daddy-daughter cult type movie. One of those things where Snoop Dogg called me up and he was literally in tears like, listen, me and my daughter sat down and watched that movie over and over and over again. It gave people a better understanding of why Roxanne Shante is the way Roxanne Shante is. You know, why I'm so quick to go at it, why I'm so, why I was, because now I'm a little more calmer. But back in the days, I'd set it off and pop off in a minute. That's why boxing was my thing.
Well, it's funny. I often tell my wife all the time that, like, my mind, I can think very vividly back to, or remember very vividly back to, like, about as far as 5, I can remember vividly. And the thing is, you were 14 when you first started, and guess what? I was 14 as well. And I remember when you first came out. And one thing that I remember is the world premiere, Mr. Magic, because I used to sit back all the time, like everybody. I used to listen to him when he was on WHBI, and then when he came to WBLS, and the world premiere, Mr. Magic, who I think hip hop owes a great deal to people like Mr. Magic, Ralph McDaniels. I mean, I think that what those guys did, and they kept hip hop afloat, if you will. But you were considered a battle. They hip hop. You were in. Yeah. Can you see me?
Okay, I got you now. Go ahead.
Okay. You were considered a battle rapper,
yes.
Or when you first came out, and that's at 14 years old. But how do you feel about, like, modern day hip hop, in the sense of how, in some cases, like, let's say the case of, like, Tupac and Biggie, how the battles, not only was on wax, but it got beyond wax.
Well, I mean, as far as the battles, hip hop is a naturally competitive genre of music, as I'm sure every other genre of music is also. But with hip hop, in order to be the best, you need to beat the best. There was only one number 1 slot. See, now people settle for being the top 5. But when I came into the industry, there was no top 5. You were either the one or that was it. There were no others. And it was more so of having to know what your talent was. Your crew didn't control you. You controlled your crew. Now, unfortunately, a lot of artists are controlled by their crew. Where back in the days, the artists controlled their crew. Your crew didn't control you. That meant that if you went somewhere, you were able to say, listen, this is all about microphones. This is about lyrics. That's it. We come here, we get this money, and we leave. They don't necessarily do that now, because everything is about credit, street cred, and now everything is so visual. See, back in the days, if you punched somebody in the face, they took that punch, that was it that night. Anybody else that was there to see it, those were the only ones who told the story. Now you get punched in the face 1,000,000 times over. So it hits your ego more. And I think, unfortunately, that's what has tied into everything now.
Well, what's your definition of freestyle?
Freestyle is having the ability to rhyme about anything at any time and not knowing that it was going to happen. Like, my office is junky and I don't give a damn. I'm sitting here with you and we on Instagram. Shout out to the people that we see doing, like that was a freestyle. A freestyle is meaning that you had to rhyme right then and there about whatever it is. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, see, but that's the reason why I asked, because nowadays, they have all these freestyle battles, and my definition of freestyle is it's just like what you said. But don't get it twisted. I mean, there's some people who they consider, rapping in a freestyle, or what they call a freestyle, that was, let's take Black Thought.
Yes.
Did you ever see his Hot 97 freestyle?
Yes.
10 minutes. I mean, of course it was written prior, but at the same time, for him to rap for 10 minutes straight, and it seemed like his voice or his wind got better as he got as the time went on. That's right there. That's a freestyle to me. That can get a buy, if you will. But I'm with you. But I'm with you in the sense of, there are a lot of guys out there now that are freestyling that it's like that's not off the top of your head. You know what I mean? It's like, and I just feel like they should be penalized. Do you think any of them should be penalized? I mean, in the sense of like from a battle standpoint, you and Sparky D, y'all used to battle. Y'all used to go back and forth, and I mean, but that's off the cuff type thing, and that's what deserves respect. I just think that when you coming in there with something, you know when you basically when you know your opponent. And you're coming in there, you already know their weaknesses or what have you. That's an unfair advantage as opposed to somebody just coming in and you just seeing somebody and you coming off the top of your head. And that's what you used to do at 14. At 14, that's the thing that's very, very. I mean, I just don't see a lot of MCs nowadays doing it, man or woman. But as far as hip hop nowadays, as far as the women go, I want to throw some names out there to you, and I just want you to tell me what you think of them. Cardi B.
I love her.
I'm talking about as far as skills.
I love her.
Okay, there you go.
And let me just tell you why. The reason why, and this is going to go for a lot, or if I want to say all of the females that you may possibly bring up. Okay. They are able to, one, take whatever is given to them, whether it is written for them or whether they write their own rhymes. That is no longer the issue. The issue now is the level of entertainment that they are at. So now it becomes a fact of how they're able to take those lyrics, whether they're written for them or not, put them onto the music, be able to flow with them, and create a hit. So all of that has to be taken in consideration. It's not just the fact like, oh, well, do you hear what she's talking about? She was talking about stripping and she was talking about this. Well, okay, that's what her life was about. People are going to rap about what they know. I can respect you for being genuine and rhyming about what you know. If you're getting food stamps and you feel like, okay, well, you know what? My new hit is going to be EBT is cool for me. Then EBT is cool for you. And you're going to rap this shit about EBT because you know it. Where sometimes you take someone and you try to create them and put them in an image, they don't last long because that's not them. So I really admire, the genuineness. And then when it comes to female rappers, you also have that balance there, because you can have a Cardi B on one hand, Rhapsody on the other. That's balance.
Yeah. Well, let me throw some other names out there, but these are some names I know you're very, very familiar with. Marley Marl. Because, and I'm only mentioning Marley Marl's name right now because, yes, he's connected with you. But, we live in a world where, there's always, whether it's boxing or whether it's hip hop, there's always this, who's your top 5 of all time, that type of thing. And, you get Dre, you get Primo, and definitely deserve to be up there. But Marley seems to be more down than he deserves to be. What's your take on that?
Well, I think what it is that it also has a lot to do with your relevancy, how much you stay in tune with everything, your attitude and personality when you're around people. When you mention certain producers such as Primo, like people are able to say like these guys are nice to be around or good to be around. I think what a lot of producers have their own different formats of what they choose to do. Marley might be more of a strictly studio, want to stay to himself, likes his own music, surrounds himself with his own people, but that does not take away from the greatness that he's done.
I'd say that, but at the same time, I just feel like this is only from my vantage point. Growing up, like I said, when you started at 14, I was 14, so you know my age. So if your life was anything like mine, in the sense of, I know around my house, I had my music in my time frame, but at the same time, I was listening to my mother's music, the Motowns and things like that or whatever, but we respected it. Yeah. Where the point I'm trying to get to is like, I just feel like nowadays hip hop is too much into the here and now. And the bottom line is, to a certain degree, you don't respect your elders, because that's why I'm mentioning Marley, because Marley deserves to be put up there with the best, mentioned with the best, put it that way. I mean, and I mean, even MCs, I mean, man, your crew was just off the chain. I mean, we got all these other crews that came out afterwards. To me, I just think that you guys need to be acknowledged. Like you would. I remember when Little Kim said, "Oh, I'm the only female in my crew." It's like I remember Roxanne was too. You know what I mean? And Roxanne rocked it, and basically, you guys laid the blueprint on crews, if you will. You know what I mean? What was your song? What's the song? Bad Mama, Big Bad Mama.
Yes.
That right there, that song right there laid the foundation for not only female battling, but that right there could have took on like any male, because you went at everybody. What was your motivation for that song?
Well, I think what it was coming into the industry, I also wanted to leave with a bang. And that was actually like the last album and last song that I was going to do. And people say to me, well, why would you make a song like that? And I said, well, why wouldn't I? You know, that's you talking to 17-year-old, 18-year-old Roxanne Shante. And would Roxanne Shante now at age 50, would she do that? Or would she say those things? Probably not. But the thing about it was, would I change anything that I've said in the past? No, I couldn't, because that makes me who I am today. And I think it was a way of just setting that presence and letting my name be etched in stone. That's the reason why, you know, people would say to me like, well, you know, the Juice Crew did a phenomenal record called The Symphony. And why wouldn't they put you on The Symphony? You know what I mean? And my thing was like, look, I'm not going to do The Symphony because then I will only be known as the girl from The Symphony.
Boxing and music, you know, reputations take a hit to a certain degree because, you know, I think the boxing and music is like life. And when I say that, I'm saying I don't care whether you're man, woman, white, black, or what have you. There's good and there's bad.
Yes.
And boxing and the music industry can be cutthroat at times. You, like you said, as a 50-year-old woman, but you got in the business at 14. Well, first of all, how much, I couldn't really tell from the movie, how much hands-on was your mother there? And I only say that because I know that you're a mentor now, you're a counselor in Newark, and you talk to a lot of the youth. What, if you were in the shoes, let's just say you had a 14-year-old Roxanne.
Okay.
And she wanted to be in the music industry, what advice would you give her, and what direction would you take her?
Well, actually, I am the mom of a daughter who's now in her early 20s, but she was 14 once. And I think that when it came to her wanting to go into the industry, because she's a phenomenal singer, I actually let her take her own lead with it. It wasn't something that I pushed, but one of the things that I did set, you know, that I made sure was that she had to go to school. She needed to graduate. She also needed to have something else to fall back on. I wanted her to understand contracts. I wanted her to be able to review certain things. I needed her to understand a little more about the music business instead of just looking at the music industry. I needed her to know more about the music business. So therefore, I put her into, they have this like phenomenal program that's absolutely free that you can get on EDX, and it's called Knowing the Music of Business. And what they do is it's done through Berkeley College. And you literally can go and take this course and you will get a certificate, you know, saying like, and it teaches you everything. It teaches you writers, publishing, things that I didn't know. So if I could talk to a 14-year-old, you know, anybody's 14-year-old daughter, first thing I would say is you need to finish school. Second, I would say is no matter what goes on this year, this won't even be important to you when you're 21. It may not even be important to you next year. And that goes with relationships, friendships, and everything. I think what is the problem is our children now are too attached to relationships, likes, and friendship than they are with understanding full mentorship or even the relationship with their parents, or maybe even relationship with other adults. I think that, you know, that's the problem that we're having now. But for me, I try to be that Miss Shante, which is through my program, which is called Mind Over Matter. I try to be that Miss Shante that I wish I would have had at age 14. Somebody that comes along and says, listen, you're only 14. You better enjoy life.
You've been called a legend, and because you are a legend.
Well, thank you.
How does it feel? How does it feel being a legend?
I guess it feels really.
Or shall I say, put it this way: Do you think you're a legend?
I think that I've done enough to not be forgotten.
And how does that feel?
That's
because not many people are going to be. Let's face it. I mentioned like a few people earlier where I don't know. I can't see them being where you are 30 years from now. Are you following what I'm saying? And you from 14 to now, and you're still relevant in some way, shape, or form. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. That's why I'm asking, how does it feel being a legend?
I guess I want to say it's very humbling for people to consider me to be a legend. And one of the main things that you need to do in order to, because everybody wants to be remembered, and you're really remembered by the kind and the good deeds that you do. It has nothing to do with records. I've known people that have monster hit records and people don't even know their name, or people don't even know who they are. So the thing about it is, it's not about that. It's about how you treat people. The way you treat people when your record is hot is the way they're going to treat you when it's not. And everyone wasn't taught that, but I was. And also, I mean, the more people you feed and the less you talk about it, the better your agreement is with the universe. Like, even with the story in the movie about Nas, I didn't tell that story. Nas told it first in his documentary. I never mention the things that I do for others. I let them mention it first. When Killer Mike said that if it wasn't for me, he would not have been a rapper, I never went out and said that. I let him say it first because that's my agreement with the universe. You can't talk about everyone that you feed. You can't, you just can't do that. So when someone says, you're a legend, I hope that I'm more so a legend for the things that I've done outside of the industry, because the industry didn't pay me anything. So it wasn't like I became this legend and bought this $1 million home and had all these things. That didn't come from that at all. Everything I have now has came from hard work, patience, and perseverance. But the main thing is, in order to be considered a legend, I hope it's, for all of the good things that I've done. So that's why I smile, and it's so hard to jump on it because I'm still very humble with it. So when someone says, oh, yeah, you the greatest, you this, you that. And I say, oh, okay, thank you. But when someone comes to me and says, you know what, that day when you gave me that $20, I fed my family, that does something for my soul.
Did you see hip hop getting as big as it's gotten? Because if you remember back in the days, hip hop was in New York. Hip hop, they didn't even play that until after a certain time frame. What was it, like after 10 o'clock? But now it's mainstream, not only on the stream everywhere. It's the brand of music. Did you see it getting this big?
Well, no, I didn't, because at first everyone was telling you, and this comes from people being able to tell you things that you just don't know. So what you don't have no knowledge of, people can tell you anything about. And I remember them saying, like, listen, you know what? Hip hop it had an expiration date. This music's not going to be around in 10 years. So you might as well just go ahead and give us your publishing and your writers, because, this is not going to be around here. Why don't you take a couple of $1,000s for this? Because in a few years, it's not going to be worth nothing. This music is just going to go, because people made us feel that way about hip hop, because not everybody would come to the parks. Some people felt they was too good to come out to the parks and jam. Not everybody was dragging their mother's speaker system outside and trying to plug it up to the lamppost. It was almost like considered to be like poor people's music. So they didn't want to be associated with it. And after they would reach a certain level, they felt like they needed to disassociate themselves from it. Even adults, they would play hip hop all the time, all the way till they get to their job. Then when they get to the parking lot, they turn to jazz and then get out the car and make it seem like they was listening to jazz when they was listening to Tupac the whole way to work. Or they would go in their office and they would play, these soothing ballads and everything else. But then when they look outside the office and nobody's there, then they want to blast Run DMC. So it made it seem like it was almost like embarrassing to still be a part of hip hop after a certain age. But then when they realized that it was going to be a $1 trillion, multi-billion-dollar business, Then all of a sudden, open up the doors, let hip hop in. Everything is good. So now, because other people's children are doing it, now we got rules and laws set. Now you got to make sure your contracts are right. Now you're going to have your publishing. Now we're going to include it in being a genre of music for this. So yeah, I've watched things change, but I never knew that it was going to get to the magnitude that it is now. But I do enjoy it.
And I don't want I don't want to flip flop, but you know, I wanted to say this to you, and I wanted to ask you, like, you know, where do you get the strength from? As far as in the movie, you went through a few things that, quite honestly, to a weak-minded person, you would have lost hope. When I say that, I'm saying like the scene in which your mother's boyfriend took the money, your father didn't show up, you being abused by your man, but you still. But I see you at the fights with your husband, and I see that sparkle in your eye. And I think that could be a motivation to other people to stay on that horse, if you will. But why? Where did your strength come from in order to survive that?
Well, my strength comes from God. You know, you can't, you know, my strength comes from Allah. There's no other entity that I can place in it and say, this is why I am the way I am. I am the way I am because I always knew that I was here for a reason. One of the reasons why is because I was never selfish with my stage. When you look at it and you go into all of the Juice Crew members, every Juice Crew member was once my DJ. And I would let them be my DJ in order for them to be able to get up on stage and show the world who they were. So I did that for Biz. I did it for Shan. I did it for Kane, G-Rap, you know. So I sat back and said, you know, this must continue because only a selfish person is going to see someone that can possibly be greater than them and hold them back. You know, a righteous person is going to look at that and say, you know what? The bigger they become, the more that they do in their life positive, all of that reflects on me. So when I look at someone like Nas, who says, yo, I remember Shante, if it wasn't for you, you know, and then I look at where Nas is today, and still we were just recently in Dubai together. And in the middle of his show, he stopped his show, called me on stage in Dubai. And we just stood there and just looked out at the crowd, literally wanting to cry because we were coming from the projects, and here we are all the way in Dubai.
Queensbridge to Dubai. That's a big leap.
That's a big leap. By invitation. By invitation. You know, it's one thing when you get to go all these places because you got the money to travel, but when they ask for you to come, when they invite you to come, you know, that's just one of the greatest things about being a person who never gives up because you keep giving. And that's what you got to do. You can be in a bad situation and, you know, don't stop giving. Even if you feel like, you know what, I'm giving to maybe an entity that doesn't even deserve it. But the catch is you're feeding the universe. You're feeding your soul when you do that. That's what you do.
I was going to say, how often do you still talk with your Juice Crew brothers?
I talk to at least one of them every day.
Your collaboration with Kane, because he wrote "Have a Nice Day," right?
Yes, he did.
That's what that you used to write your old stuff, and that's the only song that was written for you, right?
Right.
Which is an incredible thing because you know, but "Have a Nice Day," I'm not gonna lie, that was. I mean, when Teal Rock said it's yours, he didn't mean his name. I mean,
absolutely. But I felt like I felt the reason why Kane did that for me, and G-Rap inked something for me too, which was called Deadly Rhymes. But the reason why Kane did that for me is because I was overseas, and when I came home, KRS-One's "The Bridge Is Over" was everywhere. Now, mind you, I'm in London. And I come home months later and I'm like, wait a minute, when I left, we were on top. I come back and now the bridge is over. I don't understand. And then I remember, like, this is Kane's friend. So I called Kane on the phone. It was like, What's going on with your friend?
So, and that in itself is funny as hell because that's his friend. But it's almost like roasting somebody. You know, when people roast,
Exactly.
you tend to some of the stuff that you say is like, oh man, that's the stuff that you've been hiding that in the back of your mind about me. You know what I mean? Because
Exactly.
for him to, because some of the stuff that he said, it was like, oh my god, because for the longest we were like, quite honestly, Shan did very, very well. Mm-hmm. But that song right there was the one that kind of, caught Karis One, with an uppercut and knocked him down a little bit. I thought that, like I said, growing up in that time is totally different from now. And sometimes I get kind of emotional about it because, like I said, it's a different time frame, and I don't want to stay in that time. But at the same time, that time right there was a hellified time. I mean, if people were to have lived it, they would understand what I'm talking about. I mean, hip hop was really hip hop back then. I mean, nowadays hip hop is definitely a music to be reckoned with, and it's all that. But at the same time, it's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be.
I think if we look at it that way, we can't just put that on hip hop. Nothing is like it used to be.
That's true.
Nothing. So
that's true.
Everything has changed. We would never think about going in grandma's medicine cabinet and taking her pills. That was just taboo. We just would not do that. Where today, we have a serious opioid addiction. We have so many different things. Our kids are going through it. In the 80s, everybody wanted to be up. Now everybody wants to be down. So it's it's hard to just say or put blame on just one thing changing when so many things have changed. Like even the foster care system. I had went through my share of that. And so because of that, I'm a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate for children who are in foster care and misplaced adoptions. And so what I do is I go and become that voice for these children because when I was younger there, I didn't have anyone to be that voice for me or my sisters. So still today, we still need help. And I tell people all the time, like, look, the world is changing. We have to change with it. And we can't give up on our kids. We just can't give up on them. If you see somebody out there that's fighting all the time, boxing may be their thing. That may be they just need to be directed the proper way. You need to take that and direct it this way and say, listen, you out here fighting for this, you can fight and you can live like Mayweather. That will give them that incentive to want to go in there and box and do that. It's just where you direct it.
Well, Queen, time is running down, and I mean,
because they'll shut us off in a minute.
Yeah, your story we can go on and on and on, but time is running down. I want to give you an opportunity to tell our viewers, everything about your social media and how can that people really get in contact with you, but also you you got the radio show. Yes. And plug everything right now. Okay. All right. Well, what you can do is you can definitely tune in. You can hear me every day, Monday through Fridays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Sirius XM Channel 43. That's LL Cool J's Rock the Bells Radio. My show is called Have a Nice Day. Please believe it. My husband and I, we also have a nonprofit organization, which is called Mind Over Matter. And what we do is we stick with girls from ages, we don't like to say the ages. We just like to say from the grades 9 through 12. And we follow through to make sure that they graduate high school. We are also involved not only in their academic life, but we're also involved in their personal lives. That's what led me to be a CASA here in Newark, New Jersey. My Instagram is the letter I, the letter M, Roxanne Shante. My kids told me to put I am. I fucked it up and put I am. So it's the letter I, the letter M, Roxanne Shante. And so you can just tune in every day and even on social media, I am who I am, and that's all. What time? Tell them what time. Tell them what time. Oh, every day from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And I look forward to seeing you again at the fights. Absolutely. We took a lot of pictures the last 2 times you were here. And we had conversation. I don't even know if you remember that, but we had a decent conversation. And I remember, I again, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and because we really appreciate you, past, present, and we're definitely going to be looking out for you in the future. All right.
Absolutely. And count me in. You know I'll be there.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Much love to you. All right, Queen.
Thank you.
All righty. Good talk with Roxanne Shante. Again, I just want to give a shout out to a few people that helps the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. Roxanne Passarella from Fantasy Resort, Spar Bar, the Claridge, Atlantic City, the City of Atlantic City, Joe Torres, Samad Haq, my man, and Patrick Killiam. There's a lot of other people that we can name, but at the same time, I just want to thank those guys because they're definitely Angela Crockett. Oh, I forgot about Angela. I can't. Rod Green, I gotta talk about you too. Lisa Scott, who does work for the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. And bottom line is, again, thank you for tuning in, watching me talk to Roxanne Shante, a true legend in the game and a true boxing aficionado. Join us next Tuesday rather, for another takeover as we have another guest that's going to knock you out. All right, Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. This is Rob Scott. Thanks for tuning in.